Welcome, everyone. This is Piney Pindles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here are LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
And please welcome our guest for this week, Froring.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome. And today we'll begin with a little ritual. I hope you're prepared for this. And we're going to ask you, how did you get started in Tolkien, LOTRO, and the LOTRO community? So let's begin with Tolkien.
My introduction to Tolkien was the Rankin Bass cartoons that we had on VHS when I was a kid. And so after watching those several times, I was just like poking around in the library at my grandparents' house and found copies of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and picked them up as a sixth grader and read them. And since then, I've read The Lord of the Rings annually, at least. So I got really into Tolkien then. I got into LOTRO because I was, but also because I was poking around the library and found Professor Corey Olsen's book on The Hobbit, and then found his podcast, and then found the Grifflet stream from there. And when he started, so watching him play LOTRO got me interested. So then I started playing it, and then eventually I got a character on Landroval and joined the Mythgard kinship, and that got me into the LOTRO community.
All right. So you said the Rankin Baskin. Yeah, I remember that one way back when that first came out.
Well, those are awesome. They're still awesome cartoons today.
Yeah.
They're fun, even if they're not the most faithful to the actual text.
Well, I mean, the movies aren't exactly faithful to the actual text either. Elves at Helm's Deep.
True. There was that. With Rankin Baskin movies, skipped Helm's Deep. I know they didn't have the first two.
Yeah, they bafflingly just went straight for the Return of the King.
Yeah. So therefore, let's head into our news for this week. And it's a rather sparse news week because all that we've got is this beacon, because I suppose that they were all enjoying it, the Independence Day holiday here in the States.
Or as a friend in the UK linked a GIF to Happy Treason Day, Ungrateful Colonials. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, treason is a charge invented by winners as an excuse for hanging the losers.
In which case, it wasn't treason because they lost.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, yes, but at the time, of course, they were telling Franklin that wouldn't this be committing treason, and so that's when Franklin came up with that definition. So let's head into the community spotlight as the cover is showing some people enjoying a fine festival. And Tolkien continues their adventures following Frodo's journey in Chapter 4 through the Trolshalls. And the results of the D & Company Demilu Housing Week are week number 6 are shown on the link inside the beacon. Ending runs the new seasonal summer instance. And there is a live performance by the Anduin ensemble that was performed on July 1st, but there is a link so that you could listen to the performance now. And in the Kin Hall, the Hunters of Coombe are a Crick Hollow-based kinship level 9. They have many new and returning players from all levels and skills. They are a fun, friendly, and helpful group who have weekly parties and often contests with prizes. They are not a raid or endgame focused kin. that they do raids, instances, and skirmishes often. They give tours showing all the hidden little Easter eggs and hidden gems that SSG Turbine have placed within the game. They help new players learn about the game, their characters, and the world. They help returning players get back into the flow of things and welcome everyone. They have only one rule: we are family. We are family, act like it.
That could be taken so many different ways.
Yeah, I hope you mean a nice, together, friendly family as opposed to a squabbling family. Yes.
Yeah.
Though both are family.
Yes, both are families. So, and you could click there for more information about this. So that is the Hunters of Coom on Crick Hollow. And now comes the weekly comment. How are you staying cool during the summer festival?
Avoiding picnics.
Avoiding the mayor and going with him to a picnic, you mean?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, I think that's the most heat that any of my characters have ever experienced in game, except maybe when swimming in lava in Mordor.
Well,
But then that was more deadly, so.
Well, I've been flame broiled by a dragon on several characters, so
Well, true.
the summer picnic really doesn't seem all that hot at that point. But
I don't usually get knocked out by the heat, though, when that happens.
no, you get dead.
Well, okay, true.
so it knocks you out so that they would have to pick you up and bring you to the stone circles.
The
Yes.
circle? Yeah.
I'm not sure comparing Dragon's Fire to the weather is a fair comparison.
Well,
Considering some of the mirages,
considering some of the mirages, I mean, some of those mirages are drakes.
Fair enough.
And Dragok does have hot breath.
Yeah. All right, let's head to the fan site news. Nardis does some instances and gets the level 74 in his new stream, which is set in instancing on Norland. Elklenar discusses the differences between common and non-common damage while battling Drukorth. And you watch episode 76, Tending the Glade, which would be in the North Downs. And you could also watch Don't Fight Ducks, who finishes Moria with Ray Replay. And Louis 7 runs his week's featured instance, Webs of the Scuttledells. I'm sure that's one of Sans' favorites, right?
I don't know. Did we ever get around to taking you through that, Sans?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound promising as a favorite.
I don't think Sans has ever actually done it. Mostly because they couldn't get me to go with them and tank it, because I suck at that instance.
We did try to get you to go, though.
They did.
I realized what I was trying to get you to do, and I decided maybe that wasn't the smartest thing I've ever
Well, and there are some instances that I'm okay going in with and at least giving it a try, but I know that boss fight, and I know how much I suck at moving around in combat trying to do boss fight stuff, and it's not going to happen. I could go in as like healing and do stuff from range, but I'm not going to be up in the spider, because there's holes in the webs that you can fall through.
Yeah, and I'm sure I could find every single hole.
Painful.
And Gamolio Dan continues their adventures in Ostvarod in episode 116, Robbers, Wargs, and Goblins.
Oh my.
And in the screenshot of the week, Lena Willowwood seems not to be too bothered with the picnic grounds with the mayor.
Yeah, it looks like she has quite a bit of food left, and she's got that nice picnic dress.
Yeah.
And the rainbow there, yeah. It's looking very good.
Looking very good indeed.
It's a very nice shot.
All right, thank you. And congratulations on the screenshot of the week. So therefore, let's see what's on sale. Anything nice?
Kinda.
Kind of.
Well, okay, so Valor stuff is on sale again. Gift of the Valor, Blessing of the Valor is 20% off, along with the Third Age item trove, meh, and Legacy Scroll Box, meh. The weekly coupon gets you a Skill and Slayer Deed Boost ×1 with coupon code DEEDBOOST. Can't be easier than that. Now through July 12th. And then we've got the summer sales, so you have 35% off the 100% crafting crit, which is meh. 50% off Gondor Deed Tome, which is also meh. But 75% off the Bjorning and Character Slot Bundle, which makes it 323 LOTRO points. So if you've not picked up the Bjorning class, you can get the bundle for 323, which is a super great deal.
That's awesome. That's better than a character slot.
You're right. And
I should try to purchase that. Oh, wait.
And it includes character slot. Yeah, I've already got the...
I already have the combo.
Uh-huh.
So I probably can't purchase it again, but...
Let's head into the site news. And we have from the Antipodean writer a wallpaper.
Really nice one.
Yes, and this is a wallpaper of the One Ring poem that he did back in January of 2017. And this includes the One Ring title on there, plus the first stanza of his poem.
Mm-hmm. And the artwork is very cool.
We got quite a bit under there. And that's it for our news there. So let's head into a new player question. And Sans, you had a question?
Yes. I was reminded that Weatherstock is coming up. And so I have I guess a set of music questions for you.
A set.
Yeah. A set. So what is player music in LOTRO? Who can play music in LOTRO? How do you play music in LOTRO? What musical instrument do you like best? And the question added by Pineleaf, what instrument does Sauron play?
Let's begin as what is music in LOTRO? I will presume that you're talking about player music as opposed to the music written by Chance Thomas you hear in the background.
Yeah, the music by Chance Thomas is awesome in the background. But no, I'm thinking like player-created music, player music. Music played by people outside the Prancing Pony and Bree or other places.
I'm not too sure one could find a better definition for that. It is played with musical instruments that are slotted in your ranged slot of your character. And
so it counts as a ranged weapon for your slotting?
Right. It counts as a ranged weapon for your slotting. For minstrels, this actually counts as pretty much as a weapon, since you have to have a musical instrument in order to be able to do. Actually, I think if you don't have anything equipped, it assumes that you've got a generic lute in your hands or something like this. But other than that, you can't do most of your skills as a minstrel unless you have this musical instrument available and all that stuff. But of course, Sans isn't talking about those little notes that minstrels play when they're healing or trying to blast someone to pieces. Instead, of course, she means when someone plays music just for entertainment, or I presume that's what you're talking about here.
That was what I was thinking about, yes. Because if there are concert series in-game, then people must be playing music.
Right. And
I doubt that they found enough enemies to be sitting up there playing the notes together for killing enemies.
Especially...
But that would be interesting.
Especially if it comes and sounds like that there are actual compositions or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, it's very difficult to string together a number of ballads within a minstrel trying to heal that's going to sound like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah. So how do they get real music?
There are two ways you could achieve this. First of all, the person who's playing it or group that's playing it, because you could also, is that you can equip a musical instrument and there are a series of keys that you can press in order to activate each of the notes, which is manual playing. And I think some people occasionally do that, especially in solo work, but if anyone does group ensemble playing using that methodology, congratulations if they manage to pull it off. Because that would be really tough to do in sync. Usually what you do is you have ABC files. And
like learning to read files?
No, ABC files is a system of storing music inside of a text file. So it's a file name .abc. So usually you give the file the name of the piece, the part that it refers to .abc. So they call them ABC files because I have no idea what ABC means or if they just randomly chose it because it was the first three letters of the alphabet.
Fair enough.
And in these ABC files is that the game is able to read these, and then it has your player, if you're in music mode at the time, because you'll have to obviously be music and playing mode to it. So if you play this piece, it reads the file and reads the information in it, and then has your player play the right notes concerning with both the right notes and duration. And when you do this, several players who are in a fellowship can actually synchronize with each other so that everyone will all be playing at the same time. And so as soon as everyone in the group who has a musical part are all synced up to play, then the leader can say, start playing, and then everybody plays in the proper synchronized. Could all play all synchronized and in harmony and all that stuff. So therefore, that's how concerts are played in LOTRO and all that stuff. So therefore, that's in a nutshell on how the music system operates. As for who can play music in LOTRO, technically anyone who is out of the starter area should be able to play the lute and one other instrument. It's actually, I think now, actually two other, because actually the fiddle, I think you start playing that at level 5 also. So therefore you got the lute and the fiddle, which anyone can play. And then other characters play either the clarinet or the horn for most other classes. Minstrels, of course, can play most instruments at the beginning, though they get additional ones added on. I think by level either 15 or 25, they have access to them all. They lowered the levels a little while back because I think bagpipes used to be 25. I think they lowered that to level 15 recently, for example.
Cool.
And they can teach them to other players.
And they can teach them to other players, which is, one of the nice thing is that you do have a mentoring skill as a minstrel, so they can teach them other ones. I think it's a cooldown. Is it a week or a day for the cooldown on the?
It's not quite a week.
Not quite a week, yeah. So therefore,
like 5 days or something like that.
Yeah, 5 days. So you can't spam teach it to everyone, but gradually over time they could teach you a good number of instruments if you're interested in doing that. But you'll notice that the majority of characters that are involved in bands, you'll see a large percentage of them are, of course, going to be minstrels. Or if they're not, they're playing some instrument which could either easily taught by a minstrel or which you get by default. Because obviously, if it's a horn, you just grab a character that can play a horn, such as a champion.
So I did a little bit of research about ABC files.
Yeah.
And apparently they're called that because they just transcribe the notes, like an A would be A in the text file and so on.
Okay. So therefore, right, because A, B, C for the letters of the notes. Okay. I guess that makes sense.
So it's musical notation rather than just text notation.
Yeah, when I was saying text,
That's cool.
I meant, the text of the musical notation. Yes, because it transcribes it as an A rather than as a note or something like that. Okay, that makes sense then.
You can put it together, and it's because it basically is just a text file that can be edited with just a simple notepad, provided you know how the notation's supposed to look. There are a couple of websites that have various ABC files available. And I'm trying to remember which one I had bookmarked at one point. I lost all my bookmarks a while back, so I don't have it anymore. But I had one bookmarked at one point. I think it was the Fat Loot, where it didn't have the files themselves, but it had the text that you could just pop into a text file, and then just make sure you just had to make sure you saved it with the .abc extension.
All right, so
Nice. So, do you have a favorite musical instrument?
That's a good question. When I tended to play in bands, I tended to play the clarinet. So that was probably my
Nice.
favorite there. And Terry, have you ever played the musical instruments?
I have. My Hobbit minstrel, Pepper, who is capped at 81 currently, used to attend Ales and Tales on a weekly basis. There for a while I was going, and would do the impromptu get up on the stage, before the actual show, the pre-show, where anybody can just take the stage and play a song. And I did some of that. That's a lot of fun. Pepper is a lutist, but my minstrels all have their own individual instruments. And sometimes it can take a while to figure out which one they like, so I'll try a couple of different ones. Most recently, Down with Bears has developed a fondness for this newfangled instrument called the fiddle.
Yeah.
Because it's a high elf minstrel. So the fiddle wasn't invented 3,000 years ago before she took a nap. So to her it's a newfangled instrument.
All right. Is either that or, since the fiddle is one of those names that gets has over history gotten attached to different instruments, that it could, they could have had the word or some equivalent to it back then, but it was a completely different instrument 3,000 years ago.
But my real favorite instrument is the encore drum.
The encore. Oh, that's a favorite of a lot of people, is the encore drum.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
And that of course operates a little bit differently, yes, because it has actually
You can't use them to play ABC files though, right?
No, because they don't actually play
Just
any kind of notes.
right.
It's just the phantom drumming.
Yeah, just phantom drumming on it. But you have to know how to play a drum in order to use that.
Yes. I'm going to give a shout out to Ales and Tales, by the way, because Ales and Tales is something that the Lonely Mountain Band does every Monday. 8:30 p.m. server time is when it starts. The pre-show, you can go and either play your own tune or listen to some other people play, and then they get into concert mode about 9:30. You see a lot of synchronized dancing. They have a segment in the middle where various minstrels can teach people how to play instruments. So they round up who can teach what, and anybody can volunteer to take lessons, which is great for both minstrels and students because there are 2 titles attached to teaching music.
Ah.
And in case that you might want to know this, something you might want to know that I did not know the first time I went to Ills and Tales, but I wanted to learn a musical instrument, is that you do not need to have the instrument on you to learn it. You don't need to do anything. The minstrel will walk up to you and bequeath the knowledge on you, and your player will bow without you doing anything about it, and you'll be done.
Yeah.
You'll know it.
So they use the thank system like in the Music Man?
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, because not knowing the system at all when I first went to Ills and Tales, I was really confused, and I was like, I want to learn how to play this, but I don't have it with me. I didn't even buy it because I couldn't play it.
All right. Yeah.
So.
Sans, do you have a favorite instrument?
Oh, man. I think I've liked all the instruments. Right now, my highest level minstrel is running around with a flute, in part because I had it in her inventory. But I'm enjoying that for combat. For playing, I'm liking the lute and the harp for most of the songs that I have. They sound a little bit weird on the throwbow. I haven't tried them on the fiddle yet, though, so that might be fun.
Yeah, and Ring, do you have a favorite instrument?
I don't have any experience with the in-game music system, so I'm gonna not give an uninformed opinion.
Right. Have you ever watched a concert?
I've been by a couple of concerts, but I haven't, I think, intentionally stayed and listened to one because I'm usually when I'm able to be online, like want to be doing stuff.
Ah. So you're not going to get in line to be live at Weatherstock then?
Yeah, probably not.
So Weatherstock does often get streamed, so that's always a possibility that you could do other stuff while listening to it if you were interested in that, because that will.
Though a different server might serve you better.
Yeah, I have actually quested in the higher level regions of Landraville during Weatherstock without any ill effect. In fact, there was one time where some nefarious characters arranged to crash everybody out of Weathertop. So therefore, I'm hearing all this about the server crashing, all this. I'm over at the Great River, and I didn't even feel a blip. Well, in Landraville.
Interesting.
Yeah. So therefore,
that was a couple of years ago, I think, when the Runekeeper, before they changed Runekeeper heal.
Yeah, I think
why they
that
changed
was one of the
Runekeeper
reasons they changed it. Yes. If they did it now, I think it'll slow down and perk the ears of a couple of GMs, but it probably wouldn't bring down the server, we could hope.
They've gotten a lot better. The last couple of Weatherstocks, they've had Standing Stone folks actually right there at the event, so they can catch people that are trying to disrupt it before they can do too much. Which is nice.
It's just nice.
That's very nice.
It
Speaking of disruption, though,
falls back on the general rule of just don't be a jerk, guys.
Right? Thinking of disruption, though, what instrument do you think Sauron plays?
Now, interesting question on this, because Sauron would have been at the original concert where the world was unfolded.
He was probably singing, though, right? So his voice? If he was making any music then?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I guess I can't remember how the music was created. I would have to reread that section of the Silmarillion.
Yeah, I'm not sure the text specifies whether they're using instruments or their voices, although I think voice is probably a fair assumption.
Or it could be that it's hard to tell when you are spirits, if there's a distinction.
That's a good
So,
point.
assuming Sauron in Middle Earth,
All right.
what do you think Sauron in Middle Earth would play as an instrument?
Well, we could always go with the old theory of what would be the most likely instruments of the devil, and I can only think of two instruments that are usually accorded that particular position.
Well, the fiddle is one.
One of them is the fiddle, of course, and that one is in game because that's been recently added. And the other one is, well, it might not be, I don't know if it's associated with the devil, but it's associated with hell, and that is, of course, is the accordion. And we don't currently have any squeeze boxes at all in LOTRO.
Well, they've got bagpipes and the pipgorn. And I've heard enough pipgorn hate that people would probably agree that the pipgorn is something Sauron might have played.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, some people would, may accuse the pipgorn of being an invention of Sauron.
I think he would use whatever he could mistune.
Mistune. Oh, yeah.
I mean, a fiddle can make some pretty nasty, unpleasant sounds if it's not played well.
That's true. In fact, some of the fiddles that are in game, they have knocks and scratches and stuff for sound effect purposes.
Oh, that's right. He will play the fiddle that has the knocks and scratches, and of course, play a lot in that range. And that takes care of our new player question of the week, unless anyone else has something to add for that. Then let's head into our week in LOTRO. And Terry Adwin, what were you up to?
Well, let me pull up show notes and I will tell you. So started off my week with Girls of Middle-earth doing lots of picnicking. Like, lots of picnicking. We did it as a 6-man on the Little Burglars, and then we decided to try the raid. We got help from a couple of level 115 guys, who joined the rest of the girls and pretty much crushed it. I think I strolled through the last
We might have been at level 10.
Well, we also ran it at level 10 for the raid. But that's because there were, even with the 2 level 115 guys, we weren't a full 12. So we're a little bit shorthanded. And so I spent the last couple runs of it just kind of strolling through the Shire and letting everybody else do the work. You know, as you do on a burglar hobbit. And then we did the rounds of the betting on the dwarf, betting on the hobbit. Stealthrella was not impressed because she does not have good luck with the RNG. And at the end of the stream, we always finish by drinking from the Sinister Keg at the Kin House, and lost that RNG drinking from the Sinister Keg really hard, along with a couple of other people, because she, at level 26, wound up in the Forachel Ice Bay.
Ouch.
And the goal is to try and make it back to the Kin House without using any, ports or milestones or anything. So I ran. Boy, did I run. And it turns out that even in stealth, when the mobs are purple, they can see you. I kept running. I kept running until I was probably a third of the way to Zurich Ziggle. And then this deer came out of nowhere and stunned me. And that ended my run, because then a bunch of things piled on me and I went splat. Yeah, Sans wound up in the quarry, so she made it back to the Kin House first, so she got 5 silver from everybody else.
Oh, the quarry. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the stakes are so not high.
Yeah.
But
Where is the Kin House?
It's in
In the
It's in the Shire.
Oh yeah, if we're right up in the quarry, that's
Yeah.
an easy run.
Yeah, no, it's a Shirekin house because it's a bunch of little hobbit burglars and the
Yeah.
girls of Middle-earth kinship. Actually, Xing Xing proclaimed his glory on the steps of Thorin's Hall, which was awesome. That's the level 58 champion quest. You kill a couple of things in the foundations of stone, then they send you all the way back to Thorin's Hall, and they want you to climb the steps and blow a horn and proclaim your glory, which is like really, really amazing. It's supposed to go hand in hand with the boast forced emote, which you also get around that level, and I never put on my bars because I disregard. I don't encourage the use of forced emotes. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. He had a friend with him because we're running now that we've mostly finished the new content except for the Lay of Rest and Rhyme. We're doing a couple of those chapters and then switching to our Dwarven Death Machines plus Pine Trap Hunter. Because Sans and I are both Dwarven champions. So Dwarven Death Machines. And they really look like Dwarven Death Machines too, because actually Xing Xing is quite the buff little dwarf, and both all.
And we brought our hunter with us to hear our boasting.
Yes, we had to bring the hunter with us because exactly.
Of course.
And then also he helped some elves with some stuff because so not impressed with the elves. Well, it's funny because occasionally on an elven character I will give them a little bit of credit. When I'm playing a dwarf character, I have 0 patience. I'm like, you want me to do what now? Why aren't you getting off of your fancy button doing this? Right, because you're an elf. That's fine. I'll go take care of business and I'll be back in 5 minutes. Yeah, so Axley has a little bit of an attitude going back into Moria, which is always hilarious. And speaking of Moria, my lore master finally got out of Moria. My area lore master, who went to level 105 and then went back to do volume 1 and then finish up volume 2. She finished book 7 and 8 of volume 2, so she's done with Moria, and now she can do Mirkwood. So I expect that to take probably as long as it takes me to run all over Mirkwood to open it up, because level 105, it's just not that hard. And that was my week. So, Froring, what were you up to?
So I've been really busy in like real life things. I haven't spent much time online. I actually have only been able to play just before we went live here and a little bit this afternoon. So this afternoon I tried out the picnic instance on my 115 lore master that I used Aria the Valor on, and it went okay. Almost died a couple times, but used the self heal and made it through, and tried to make the bear do most of the heavy lifting.
So clearly a better lore master than I am, because my bear does all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've actually noticed that, like, since they did the LM class changes, it's a lot easier to steal aggro, even in yellow line when you're supposed to not be doing that much damage. I still get guys running after me, and then I have to use the bear's force taunt to get them off.
Oh, see, I'm in blue, so therefore I never have that problem because the bear's doing just about everything.
Yeah, that's fair. And then Froring, my original character, is slowly making his way through Rohan, and so he did a couple quests in the Epic before we went live here tonight.
Okay.
That's a good story.
Nice.
And I think Sandswind is next up.
Yep. I got to pay another visit to Fingar the Greedy this week. With Ploy, and that was pretty fun. Probably the smoothest Abyss run I've been on. And yeah, they were in rare form too. It was funny. But yeah, Fingar the Greedy, another awesomely voiced dragon character, and a lot more difficult to get to than Dragok, so definitely newsworthy. And I also did a lot of picnicking with the girls, and might have been in charge of slapping hungry hobbits and slap the mayor a lot, but you know. I did the same on the field trip, actually. We took the Lore Masters group in to level a little bit, and definitely the mayor got slapped at least as much as any hungry hobbits, and I think all of our lore master pets got slapped a few times too, so that was pretty funny. And then we continued following Bingo and danced on a table in the Prancing Pony and met Theodore Gorse, so that was fun. And on my Runekeeper, defeated more of these so-called absent spiders in Aaron Lasglin. I think we took care of the spider problem for now, at least to the elf's satisfaction. And proved that my squishy Runekeeper is still super squishy when we then ventured into Caristilion. Yeah. I did twice in there.
Ouch. Ow.
Yeah, and I had 2 friends with me. Fortunately, one of them was a lore master and could smoke me back to life. Right. But it was kind of embarrassing because I should not have been going splat. I might have killed myself with a fire reflect on one of them, but yeah, that was still pretty bad. So, Pineleaf, what have you been up to?
Right, we'll begin with my Gladden lore master, who finished gathering a motley group of rangers that are deciding that gray is going to be their favorite color for a while. Then my main warden helped some elves and dwarves to make some preparations. I won't go into any more details on that at the moment. And then, concerning that little venture into Caristilion that Sanswinda just talked about, we were in the middle of doing this little trip in there, and we're talking about reflex and stuff like this, and I suddenly realized that my skills were all doing common damage. And I noticed then that I didn't have any titles on my LIs. Okay. Oops is right on there. So therefore, after we finished our little trip to Caristilion, we decided that we'll go over to Dol Amroth and see if I could get some titles for my allies. And I found out that I was only 1/4 of the way from towards friend. So I wasn't friend, so I was only a quarter way towards friend at the time. So as a result, we went into Tarlin's Crown, where Sanswinda thought that would be a nice, wonderful, fun place to go in order to get some rep.
Hey, with 3 115 characters, it was better than Caristilion.
Well, I suppose you've got a point
And
with
it
that.
gave Dol Amroth rep.
Yeah, so we got some Dol Amroth rep in there, and I got mostly on the way up there. Then after Sans and her sister had to log out, then I decided to do some additional quests with Jajax, where Jajax has this one where you meet Jajax and he sends you out to a beach in order to scout some things out, and it leads out to a couple other. So after doing that little chain with him, I eventually managed to get the rest of the rep I needed. So I hit friend with Dol Amroth, got my title, so now I no longer have to worry about doing common damage on my knives. Or at least I don't have to worry about common damage on my main nut. See, on my other knife, I'll double check to see what kind of damage it does. That it probably does non-common because usually offhands do.
Well, some of the Mordor offhands are only common damage, and I don't know why, but...
Yeah, okay, I have to go and see what kind of damage my other knife is doing at this time. But it does mean, though, that I have managed to get that friend stash, so we have to decide if we're going to do anything else because I know that we were in the middle of the Tarling's Crown stuff when Sands and Cinders had to go, so therefore we'll see if they still want to finish that out, or if we're just going to head back into our friendly fun place in Aaron Lasglin. And that is my week. So, Forain, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Not off the top of my head.
All right. Nothing to ask, nothing to add. Not necessarily to do with your week in LOTRO, but...
Oh, well, I was thinking about the class changes because two of the two classes I play the most, the Guardian and the Lore Master, both got changes, which I've definitely noticed a difference in my limited time online.
All right. Oh, you did remember to retrait, right?
Yes, yeah, I definitely, that was the first thing I did.
Okay.
Oh, hey, we can pick Furring's brain about the Guardian stuff, because none of the rest of us do Guardian stuff.
Oh, well, I would definitely not claim to be an expert at Guardian, even though it's probably my second most played class. But, I mean, I definitely noticed, like, I tend to play solo a lot of the time in my Guardian in Redline, and the damage was considerably, like, faster than, like, the same mobs I was fighting before the class changes, would go down 2 or 3 times as fast. I actually told Sans after one evening doing that, I was like, man, almost feel like I'm playing a champion. Like, this damage is like way higher than it was before.
Cool.
But I'm not really familiar with all the intricate mechanics of how the different skills interact with each other, and they've changed some of that, and I haven't had a chance to read all the tooltips and try to sort through it. That's just my first impression from playing it a couple of times.
That's still more information than we had, because really none of the rest of us play Guardians.
Yeah.
My highest...
So after he told me that his Guardian was doing DPS more like a champion, I almost started a new one.
My highest level Guardian is level 50 ish something. It's like 51, 2, 3, something like that.
Let's see.
My highest level's in the Lonelands somewhere, 29 maybe? 20, no, probably like 25, 26.
I'm trying to think what my level is, because I know that there was that week where I was one of the escorts, I think it's something that the girls was doing, and trying to get people to...
Well, you had at one point at least one of every class at max level, right? Those like
Yeah,
10,
yeah,
5?
at 105. Yes, but a lot of those were on Crick Hollow. Yeah, at 105 I had one of each class, plus a warden on the English language servers. Or the US servers, I guess, because I didn't have one on Evernight. Still don't have a captain warden on that one. All right, anything else?
Nope.
Very well. We currently have 20 supporters on Patreon, and if you would like to join this illustrious raid of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. And this week, we don't have a featured comment, but we do have an email from Balak. And Sans, what does Balak say?
Balak says, "Hi, Pineleaf, and yes, the sweet, wise, and beautiful girls too. Balak here with another question for all. Just tried my first skirmish and was wondering what is the best soldier to use. Had some fun in it, but went with an herbalist, but didn't really do much for me. Suggestions? I did train her up to 12th level. Thanks, Balak and Freeman."
Well, I'm not too sure. See, what level?
I think he said 30 something.
Yeah, rank 12 is rather high for for level 30 something. Because I presume by 12th level he meant rank 12 because.
Probably because their lowest level is 20, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think that the baseline for them is something of rank 1. I think it's something like level 16 or 18, something like that.
I think it's 19.
19, okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
So therefore, rank 12, believe me, that's, if anything, that's overkill. And...
But he said it's not doing much for him, so...
I don't know what class. You remember what class he said he was playing?
Guardian.
Guardian? Yeah, usually if I'm playing a Guardian, well, if he's playing a red line Guardian, then an Herbalist might be fine in that case. If you're playing a different type of Guardian, then I would suggest an Archer instead. But Herbalist, the usual consensus is it's very hard to go wrong with an Herbalist unless you're playing a Healing Minstrel.
Though even then, especially if you happen to be in a group, it's hard to go wrong because then you have help healing everybody and people are less likely to die or be mad.
Yeah, and in fact, raids, if you're in a raid, in a skirmish raid, it's very unlikely you'll get complaints about bringing an Herbalist along. Other ones, I know for example, I've been in skirmishes where the raid leader says, all right, if you've got a protector, dismiss them now. This is especially for the boss fight of breaching the Necromancer's Gate. They don't want any protectors around there. They don't want anyone who has the slightest possibility of stealing aggro from the tank. They don't want them there because if someone facing in the same direction as the main group steals aggro from the tank, he turns around and wipes the group.
Oops.
Yeah, so therefore, there are a number of them who do not like protectors and breaching the Necromancer's gates during the boss fight. And there are some other situations like that where it could happen. Warriors sometimes, some people don't like sometimes because they like to go up far ahead. Yeah, if you're playing someone who's way in the back, then if you got a warrior or a banner guard, they don't mind as much as long as you stay back and don't let them go on ahead. But it says, if you like to go forward, if you are someone who's way up in the front and melee type, don't bring a warrior or a banner guard if you're going to be in a raid or anything like that. You'll get a lot of enemies if you did that. So therefore, usually the ones that are preferred are things that hang back like sages, archers, and herbalists. Herbalists, as I said, you can very rarely go wrong with an herbalist, and unless you're soloing and are spending most of your time and you prefer to heal anyway. Because in that case, you might want something with a little bit more offensive punch. And that's it.
And the Sage and Archer would both have offensive punch, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, the Sage and Archer. The Sage tends to have CC, which sometimes that could create headaches for what's going on in there, because sometimes a Sage will throw CC onto someone and then, not attack anyone because, my target is CC'd. I can't do anything now. So I prefer archers for that reason.
Okay.
But
thank you, Pine.
Yeah, but this said, the herbalist is. Oh, there is one actually no, because you said that if you're a guardian, then you're up close and personal to them. And so if you're up close and personal into the fight, then the herbalist should see the battle. If the herbalist sees the battle, they should be healing. Because I presume you're saying not doing much is that they're not healing. And in fact, the herbalist is noted as the one that you could sometimes get away with being a little bit underranked and it's still being effective. I've heard people say on that one.
You do have to make sure that you've gone to the skirmish trainer and slotted the things that you've leveled up for them.
Oh yes, that
the
does help.
That I know some of my herbalists have been bad because of that.
Oh yeah, make sure you actually equip the skills on your skirmish traits panel. Yes, that would be a good idea. But they do teach you that during the second skirmish tutorial.
They teach you that with two guys who run out of the prancing pony and stand there next to the guy telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always transfer well to a skirmish camp where the guys don't just run up to you and say, like, hi, I'm standing here on your right and I'm standing here on your left in the same place that we were before. You've got to kind of go around and find the trainer and level up your skills, and then find the captain and slot your skills.
Well,
And sometimes they're not standing
pay
anywhere
some
close
silver.
to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want them nice and close to each other, you would have to go to a housing area where they tend to stand next to each other.
But then the main purpose of the... Oh, and you could look at what the skills do, too, because I know some of my herbalists, like, when I first started out, were only providing more power, and I was like, why do I even have an herbalist?
Oh, that's
And
right,
I realized that
yeah.
was the only skill I had slotted was the provide power skill, and I was like, oh, well, I could change that to something else.
Yeah, I know a lot of players who who go out of their way not to slot that one.
I don't even train it.
Yeah, that's
I don't think it's slotted on any of mine anymore, but it was one of the first ones that I would slot just because I liked the name of it and it sounded helpful, but then I realized that wasn't actually helpful.
There's another one. There's something similar to that on the archer, which is for the archer to give themselves a little bit more power. And of course, sometimes you have archers that get in the mood of spamming that, despite the fact that they're at full power or something like this. Is why aren't you shooting instead? Really? So
They're like captain pets. They're not terrifically bright.
Yeah, they're not terrifically bright.
I was about to say this is why I prefer the Lore Master pets, because you have more control over what they do.
I mean, in theory, people tell me that the same thing is true of captain pets, but that's not been my experience.
Well, I don't have experience with the captain pets, just the skirmish soldiers and the LM pets.
Yeah, I've done some stuff with the captain, but not much. I've done a lot more with the Lore Master, yes, than with the captain. So, therefore, I hope we answered your question that you had on the soldier. But as I said, the herbalist is not going to do any damage in there. They're purely for healing. And if that's what you're looking for, fine. If that's not what you're looking for, that's going to be a bit of a problem. And if you've got the power one traded, then unless you have a lot of trouble keeping up power, which is unlikely for a guardian these days, I think, right? Then don't bother slotting that one because it just gets in the way of them healing. And if you would like to send us an email, you could send it to podcast@LotroPlayers.com. And you can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, Lotro Players @LotroPlayers, Ariandis @Ariandis, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, Sanswinda @Sanswinda, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin. And you could follow our guest, Ring at...
Well, no, I don't actually really use Twitter, so you can't really follow me on Twitter.
So you can't actually follow him anywhere.
All right, then. The Players Alliance has 4 shows every Monday. But unfortunately, DDO Players News is currently on hiatus until Draculeta finishes moving and gets his internet set up and all of that. But we still have every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, Lotro Players News. Every other Thursday at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, XP Quest. And on the first Tuesday of each month at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, Chromatic Bits. And you can join us for our shows at LotroPlayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.